Okay, happy Friday, everybody. How y'all doing? All right, so the topic for today, and it was a fabulous, beautiful day, even though it really stormed last night. Did it storm where you guys were? It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really stormed. Like I hadn't seen lightning like that.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about awkward conversations with sex and couples. And then next week, Jessica had a fabulous idea. And so next week, we're definitely doing Jessica's idea. So if you guys have that email, Jessica, you sent that out to everybody, right?
I did.
Yeah, that is on the agenda for next week. Hell or high water, they're doing. So, but yeah, so let's start with just how you're doing and what advice would you give to a couple who they can't talk about sex? They can't talk about it out loud. They don't know how to talk about it. Every time they talk about it, it gets awkward or mean or goes crazy and awry. Like, what conversation would you start to have with them about having the conversation? So, who wants to start first?
I can go ahead and jump in. And as per usual, I don't know whether or not my opinion is whatever. I don't think you can have it without being awkward. Like, it's going to be awkward. Just do it. Like, it's important. We talk about everything that's important. It's difficult to go to the doctor when you feel like you're sick. It's difficult to go to the dentist when you feel like you have a toothache. It's difficult to talk about things that are important, but they need to be talked about, because just like a toothache or just like a suspected tumor or issue, it's not going to go away by putting your head in the sand.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. All right, thank you. And I always love your ideas, Jessica, always. So, okay, Mary Hannah, what would you say?
Yeah, I very much follow that same line of thinking of like the first step is acceptance that it's awkward. Like, and especially at first, like accept the fact that you've never really had probably anyone model for you how to have healthy conversations, how to even use the language. So many people don't even know how to use proper language to express their own needs, because sex can feel so personal and vulnerable. Like, we can take it really personally when our partner has something to say about sex, and that can make the other person really nervous to say anything too. Also, too, advice that I give couples, especially starting out, is like, don't feel like you have to like break open the entire can of worms. Focus on like a small, specific, short conversation that you can have about sex, just to have had a productive conversation, period. Like, literally, if you have like one positive encounter, be like, okay, what made that one encounter good for you? Like, what aligned? And then that's it. Don't feel like you have to figure everything out, because I think that's what gets couples started down a rabbit hole, and they're not prepared to deal with the entire thing at once. So it's like, break it down. Don't be afraid to just have a small baby step, good combo at a time.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, Amanda, what would you say?
I piggyback off what Mary Hannah's saying. I think that, like anything that's awkward or difficult, like, we have to exercise the muscle to destigmatize it. So the first time or two might be awkward. It might be awkward every time. Like, for some people, this is never going to be something they love talking about. But just like I've been doing physical therapy on my neck and shoulder. Like, the first few times were really, really hard. But now I know what to expect. Like, it's getting easier. So work that muscle. Like, it doesn't have to be awkward. Name it, don't shame it. Like, say, I feel awkward, or I feel like I hate talking about this. But like Jessica, you were just saying, like, it's important. Like,
Yeah.
I hate talking about money, but if I don't talk about money, like, my mortgage doesn't get paid. So, you know. So yeah, like, start slow, build from there.
Right. I'll say I love all of what you guys have said. And so I'm going to say something practical. If you feel like, but I love what you said, Mary Hannah, like small bites, small bites. And if you don't know where to start the conversation, how about buy a book? Like, buy a $10, $20 book, read a chapter and talk about that. And that'll kind of like loosen the tongue a little bit. And plus, you hopefully will get some new ideas. And then you guys, and that's a nice, safe place to start, because we're talking about what the book says, not like what I'm feeling or what I want or no. Okay, Jessica Renard, go.
Yeah, well, and after Mary Hannah mentioned talking about just the words, the book that popped into my mind is the Come As You Are workbook, which chapter 1 literally is like, say the word vulva, say the word penis, like, write it down. What have you heard it called? Say it out loud. Like, it has all of these different things to where
Yeah.
we're just practicing the terminology. And so that is a really great one to potentially look at, because it is a workbook format, and you don't have to have read the book to know what they're talking about.
Is it something you could do one-on-one or as a couple?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and that was the other thing that I was thinking of, like, so much of this conversation starts with your own personal work. Like, what do I like? What do I not like? Where are my boundaries? What bothers me? What scents bother me? What touches bother me? What acts bother me? So like you have to do a lot of that and not just expect the other person to like know what you want.
I gotta say, if there's a biggest mistake people make in sex, that's the biggest one, I would say, is assuming that your partner is supposed to know. And even if they were like PhD, like sexual experts on every level and have taken every class, they still wouldn't know your body and what you like. Like, and there's no way for them to know what sensations work for you, like what's going to be good for you and what's not good for you. And I think just in general, if you think about the signals that come from sex, I think it could be very confusing if there's no communication to say, like, this O is a good O, and this O is a bad O. Like, you have to communicate those things. And so, if nothing else, if people just stop expecting their partners to know everything, or to know them, or to know their bodies, and even if they got to know your body, I bet you in 5 years your body will be different. And so not only do you need to start the conversation, but I would love for you to continue the conversation. I really need couples, I really want couples to be able to say, that worked for me yesterday, and I don't know why, but it's not working for me today. Can we do something different, or that no longer excites me as much as it used to. Can we do something different? Or what do we need to do different? Like, have we talked about what needs to be on the sexual menu? I think also what I would love for people to do is talk about what their sexual menu is.
Yes.
And I've noticed with couples that they don't talk about it, but the sexual menu may change as the relationship changes. For example, I may do something with my girlfriend or boyfriend that I may or may not do with my husband or wife. Or I may have done something with somebody who I didn't think was like a committed partner, and now they're a committed partner, and so now I'm willing to do that thing. And so unless like we're talking about, hey, it's okay for us to do this now, but not this, like that has to be articulated out loud, or you don't know. And I have so many cases in my head where it was just a lack of miscommunication. Like, let me try to think of a good example. It's just like a communication, like a partner saying or asking their partner to be quiet for a moment because they were getting too turned on, and that person interpreting is they don't like me, they're not into me, they don't even want me to say anything. And so unless there's communication about, hey, what was happening with you when you said this, or hey, what were you feeling, what were you thinking, like I interpreted this, oh no, that's not what's happening at all. Understanding, I don't know why we don't understand this, but I would also love for couples to learn and understand it, and therefore then communicate about, everybody probably has different sexual styles, and your sexual style is probably based on a combination of what you've seen on TV, and TV could mean porn included, versus your past experiences. So there's no way your partner has seen everything that you've seen and had all the experiences you've had. So when y'all come to the bed together, like you've got to have a conversation about what we expect and what my style is versus your style is. And, I think 1 + 1 should equal 2, but it sounds like you're on more of a 7 + 8 type of deal. Like, what does that mean? And really having those conversations. So, okay, what else would you guys say to help couples with conversations and just how it raises you?
Yeah, I think the biggest tool that I'm used with clients, and I'm using it
right now with two couples, and it is the yes, no, maybe inventory, or the sexual inventory. Um, you know, there's so much out there, especially if you're not used to talking about sex. And even, I mean, there's stuff on the inventory that I had to look up, like look in the glossary and be like, oh, I don't know, I actually don't know what that is. And it's really like, I love the inventory because it's like so direct. It's like just one or two word things, and it gives each partner a chance to say yes, no, or maybe. And it's I can share like some clients I have right now, like they don't like talking about sex, and so I've been very gentle with how we talked about it. And then one of the partners a few nights ago was like, "Oh, I feel so much better about talking about this stuff now." She's like, "Let's just jump right in." And so these few weeks that we've been doing, like, let's talk about 5 or 6 things at a time off of this, so you guys don't get overwhelmed or flooded with it. Like just that practice for a few weeks, she's like already more comfortable talking about it. So their homework was to talk about it together without me in the room and see how that worked. And so we'll find out next week. But I really recommend for folks that inventory when they don't have the language yet, or have the language but haven't talked about it in a while. Like it's just it makes it, for me, I think it makes it easier.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just say real quick for anybody listening to this live or what, and you have no idea what a yes, no, maybe inventory is, email us at info@atlcouncil.com and we'll get that to you so that you can use it. What I want to back up and say, hold on, what you said something good. I think that it takes time. Oh, this is what I want to say. I need to normalize. Most of us, I will say 80% did not grow up in a household where sexual language was talked about or modeled or expressed or anything. And so it is probably the majority of people who are having problems having this conversation. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, it's just me that can't talk about it and everybody else can. No, I will say overwhelming. The majority of people have a hard time talking about it. Like if you grew up in a household where like none of the words were used, if you would get in trouble if you would use those words, then yeah, when you've been an adult, that little kid in you is still going to be scared to use those words. It just is what it is. And so I just want to normalize that for you. But also with that, it's a skill you can learn. Practice makes perfect. It's a skill. One of my mentors, actually, she said when she was becoming a sex therapist, she would just have to walk around the house saying the words out loud over and over again. Various words. So as a therapist, she could get comfortable saying the words. And that's the same thing that a person could do to be able to have a conversation. Also, one of my coaches talked about on time, getting couples, even if you can't talk face to face, get on you guys' cell phones and you go in the bedroom and you go in the living room. Like whatever we can do to start the conversation is what we need to do. So does it need to happen in the dark at night? Does it need to happen with us in 2 different rooms? Like how can we start the conversation? And then how can we move toward then having a conversation at the kitchen table in the light of day? Yeah, okay, that's it. All right, what else you guys, ladies, on?
Yeah, I had this come up for me too, Natalie, especially of like what you were talking about of like what was modeled for you growing up and to coming into learning your own style, which is that like cast away the idea that there's like a normal that you have to be and that you have to fit in, because I feel like that could be of like what underlies so many people's fears of like exploring what they like or figuring it out, is like because so many people feel like there's 2 camps, normal and not normal. And so to embrace the idea that there is no normal and whatever style you have is is totally fine. And you know, it's not a sex drive, it's a sex response. You respond to your surroundings, to what you're experiencing internally, and that's okay. However you respond, yeah, in come as you are, you know, like the author uses like the idea of like whatever sort of like gardening your tree needs, if it needs more shade, if it needs more sunlight, you know, like whatever the atmosphere needs, that is okay. And there is no normal. It's whatever works for you and your partner.
But I love that. It's not a sex drive, it's a sex response. Okay. Say for it, like, where'd you get that from? Like, I love that.
Okay, I need to remember because I heard it like a while ago. But yeah, it's definitely stuck with me too.
Post on it, even though I don't still know. I gotta think about more what it like means and everything. So, okay. All right. What else would you guys, what advice, what other? Jessica?
Yeah, so I have two comments. One about what you were talking about earlier when they like be quiet and getting more context. Just a shout out for my neurospicy people. When you are the type of person that over explains because you've constantly been misunderstood, letting partners of neurospicy people know me over explaining what's going on for me is not me saying that you're dumb or that you didn't understand this or didn't get these contexts. Okay. My reasoning for explaining how I'm thinking is because I've been misunderstood, or a lot of neurotypicals read into the things, whereas neurospicy people, oftentimes, I'm literally just saying this. There's nothing else. There's no other connotation. It's literally what I'm saying, which a lot of people struggle with. And so I wanted to shout out to that. So like, if you have somebody that is more of an over explainer, asking them like, hey, like, this makes me feel a certain way when you over explain, where is this coming from? And having openness around that if you have someone that's an over explainer. And then the second thing, what Amanda had said earlier about the yes, no, maybe list. I do like the yes, no, maybe list because I've been working with a lot of BDSM and kink. There are limits and there are longer lists. So like, if this feels very vanilla, if this feels limiting, do BDSM map. Yeah. Be aware of what comes up. Also, there's a spreadsheet that I like that's a BDSM one that's like hundreds of lines. And it gives different columns. Like I would even take the BDSM list, do one copy for receiving, do one copy for giving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
because
good.
A lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't care if I do this for you, but it doesn't do anything for me. And so being able to differentiate what is like, I don't have anything attached to it. I'm not disgusted by it. I'm like, I have like, it's a zero neutral value to where if this is your jam, like, absolutely, I will do this for you. And then there are some that are like, no, even if it is your jam, I do not want to do this for you. So like there's nuance even in the yes, no, maybe list as well.
Yeah. So the thing that's coming to mind for me right now is that maybe, definitely, I now advise you to have a conversation about how and when and where we're going to have the conversation. Okay. So for some people, it might need to be, okay, we need to have this at the kitchen table in the light of day where I feel safe and, you know, I can take a break. And some people, no, we need to have this in darkness. We need to have this in darkness, in bed at night where you're holding me tight and I can feel that reassurance. And so I think even before you jump into the conversations, how best can we have this conversation so that we're best served? Like what would work? If you get flooded or overwhelmed, how could you tap out of the conversation? Or hey, I might need to tap out of this conversation. How do you want me to do that in a way that helps and doesn't hinder? That that it explains, but also like doesn't leave you offended. And so, and I gotta say, I think I want couples to have conversations about everything like that. Like how do you want us to have the money conversation? It seems that when I come to you, you automatically get defensive. Like, talk to me about how we need to have this money conversation. What needs to happen? What would have you feel more comfortable? When I seem to say something about the kids, it never seems to go well. What's happening? Well, you keep trying to have it to me when I'm in the middle of fixing dinner for the kids. Like I can't concentrate on what you're saying when, a crying baby is hungry. And so really sitting down and saying, when should we have these conversations? How should we have these conversations? What's the best way to start? And I'm always going to tell all my couples, always start with a compliment, start with appreciation, start with, I'm glad that you're with me and that you're working through this problem and that you showed up to have this conversation. So that's the way I want it all to start. But yeah, I think we got to have conversations sometimes about how do we have conversations.
Also, I would throw in, like, don't try and have this while you're having sex.
Yes.
No. Oh, yeah. She's just like, yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, like don't be afraid to prepare to set you both up for success the most that you can. Like, do not underestimate these details that quickly add up into making someone feel like too nervous or worried or with anxiety. Also, too, a big thing that I teach my couples, especially when it comes to sex, is how to use I statements to describe your needs, especially when you're trying to prevent any sort of like defensiveness, coming into such a personal conversation. Like one client that I talked to that like had a preference for like cleanliness, and like they're like, how do I have this conversation with my partner? And it's like, I totally get it. One, absolutely. Two, yeah, start with like that compliment. Use the training that you probably get from your work of how to talk to coworkers. Like use the compliment sandwich, people. It works. And let them know, like, hey, this is a me thing. This, I could tell if we tried to do this, could really help me a lot. And then that way, too, it's like you're setting up this positive kind of challenge for your partner instead of like, you need to be doing better.
Yep. That's good. Oh, okay. So let me jump in and say this part. I want couples having the conversation from the place of we are partners working on a outside problem. Okay. Not you crazy person or terrible. You never want to have sex. You want to have sex all the time, no matter what it is. Like you're terrible. But hey, it seems like we're out of balance here. How can we together come together so that everybody's needs are getting met? What are your needs? These are my needs. We're working in partnership together, not against each other. And so I think that's going to go to mindset, making sure you have the mindset of this is my partner, this is my partner. I don't know how to say. It's like, this is my partner. This is one of the people that I'm signed up, if not to do life with, at least to have sex with. And so how can we partner so that we have a great experience in this? Just that simple. So, okay, what's coming up? Anything else for you ladies? I love y'all thinking. We're all thinking. So,
I'm trying to figure out how to articulate what keeps coming up for me. And I think it's like getting to the heart of the awkwardness and how we can do better going forward. So a big value of mine is like sex positivity, like in the home, like talking about sex in a positive way. And I was speaking with a friend recently, and they were saying they feel so awkward talking about sex with their partner. They don't want their kids to feel that awkwardness 20 years from now when they're talking to their partners. And that keeps coming up for me as we have this conversation, like how we can shift the paradigm from, at the beginning, we might need to have this conversation with our partner in the dark, in whispers or through a cell phone. But my mind is working to, like, once we get comfortable, if we do, like how we can shift that paradigm from the dark to like maybe having this conversation over breakfast with your partner or ways to have it in a family friendly way with our teens and preteens. And so that was why like my mind was like working there. I'm like, how do I articulate that? Like, as we grow, like we can share these skills with others too, our partners, our kids, like our friends. Like it's not a one and done. This can be a whole lifestyle change.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, Jessica.
Yeah, so just kind of talking to that, one of the biggest things that I've read about like parenting and sex and getting comfortable with that is first of all, as soon as children can talk, they need the correct words for their body parts. We do not need to call genitalia anything other than my vulva, my vagina, like we need to call it that thing because that is how child abuse happens. That is how sexual child abuse happens, in that a child is trying to communicate what is going on and they're being misunderstood because you're not taking it in the right context. So we need to start there. So using the words and kind of going back to the Come As You Are workbook, you need to get comfortable using the words. Yep. Children are not going to have any judgment around those words, which is why it's so easy to love children, especially when they're young. They have a blank slate, which is why it's often easier to talk to children about some of these things because they're like, oh, well, why are those two men holding hands? They love each other. Okay, that's it. Because there wasn't anything else there. Like, they're just like, okay, cool.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God, you're so right. Okay, Mary Hannah, last thought.
Yeah, I definitely second that of like how to look towards the future and build the next generation that'll be comfortable with it, especially since, like it's not enough just to not talk negatively about it. Even not talking about something at all in a household can send those messages to a kid. And maybe you feel that too from you growing up that like, this is something that we don't talk about. This is taboo. It's not an open topic. So that's another reason of why it is important to slowly integrate yourself into how to have that conversation openly. And yeah, to model for your kids in appropriate ways of like, yeah, this is how like your dad and I figure things out with a busy schedule or something, like figuring out what works for you and using that appropriate language.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I want to say so many things, but I think I'm simply going to say this. Is start somewhere. Just start somewhere. Be okay being imperfect. Be okay being terrible. Being okay with it being an epic fail. But start somewhere. And so, I think, accept that awkwardness and failure is part of the process. And most things do feel awkward until they feel right, being with your partner just out in public on a date feels awkward at first. Do I hold their hand? Do I not hold their hand? Until y'all get into rhythm and it feels right. And so, yeah, just start somewhere. So, okay, ladies, that's our time. Thank y'all so much for your time. And y'all have a wonderful day.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.